Let me welcome you to this lecture. We have been looking at the application of group theory in solving different problems related to bonding, and we have so far looked at how we can draw molecular orbital diagram for a compound where there is sigma bond by using group theory. So let us now proceed further and try to draw molecular orbital diagram for a compound where there is also pi bonding involved apart from sigma bonding, and how we can find out the symmetry of these pi molecular orbitals, and at the same time how we can draw molecular orbital diagram for a compound where there is pi bonding is also involved. So for this purpose, we will use again an octahedral complex as our model compound and find out the symmetry of the pi molecular orbitals in these octahedral complexes. So now let us take once again the octahedral complex. So we will use a procedure which is similar to what we have done in case of sigma bonding. We will find out the symmetry of the pi ligand group orbital for formation of pi bonds in this octahedral complex. Now, before we go and find out the symmetry of the ligand group orbitals which can form pi bonds, we must realize that the orbitals which form pi bonds are perpendicular to the orbitals which are involved in sigma bonds. So, for example, if we look at the molecule acetylene, we know that the orbitals which are involved in sigma bonding are sp hybridized orbitals. So, in case of acetylene molecule, and these are essentially formed by s orbital, and we can assume that this also px orbital is involved in hybridization with s orbital to form sp hybridized orbital, which essentially form the sigma bond between the two carbon atoms. Now the carbon atoms on this acetylene molecule will be left with unhybridized px, py and pz orbitals, which are again perpendicular to the these sp hybridized orbitals, as well as they are mutually perpendicular. So then we have these unhybridized p orbitals, which essentially form two pi bonds, and these pi bonds, the electron cloud lie on planes which are essentially perpendicular to the sigma bond, as well as they are perpendicular to each other. So based on these principle, also we have to draw the pi bond vectors in this octahedral complex, assuming that the pi bond vectors are perpendicular to the sigma bond vectors, and then at the same time the pi bond vectors are mutually perpendicular to each other. So let's draw the pi bond vectors. So we'll draw bond vectors which are perpendicular to the sigma bond vectors over here, and we'll draw two bond vectors on each of these ligand atoms. So this is how we can draw the pi bond vectors, and let us now find out a reducible representation by taking these pi bond vectors. So let's draw let's write the 48 symmetry operations of octahedral point group classwise. That is E 6 C4 8 C3. Then we have 3 C2, which are collinear to the C4 axis, and then we also have 6 C2, which are not collinear to the C4 axis but bisect the sigma H planes. And then we have the inversion center, we have 6 S4, 8 S3, Then we have 3 sigma h and 6 sigma d. So that is 7 plus 8 15 plus 3 18 plus 6 24 plus 1 over 8 25 25 31 39 here 42 and then 48 symmetry operations of the octahedral point group. So let's write gamma pi bone, that is a reducible representation by taking the pi bone vectors as the basis. There are total 12 bone vectors over here. So the character of identity of relation we can easily figure out it to be equal to 12. Then we have C4 operation. If we do now C4 operation, so let's assume this C4 axis which passes through these axial ML bones over here. When we do the C4 operations, we see because all these bone vectors on these ligands over here which do not fall on the C4 axis will change position, and that is why they are going to contribute 0. Only these bone vectors which lie on these two axial ligands over here will contribute towards the character, and each of these bone vectors are going to rotate by 90 degree, and that is why each of these bone vectors are going to contribute cos 90 degree, which is equal to 0. So all of these bone vectors are going to contribute 0 towards the character, and the total character for the C4 operation is going to be equal to 0 here. Then we have C3 operation, and we know that when we do C3 operation, the C3 axis does not pass through any of these ML bones, and that is why all the bone vectors are going to change position when we do C3 operation. So all of them are going to contribute 0 towards the character. Then we have these C2 operations, and these C2s we know are collinear to the C4 axis of symmetry, and then again we will assume that the C2 passes through this ligand metal and this particular ligand over here, and then all of these vectors are going to contribute 0 towards the character, while only these vectors should contribute towards the character, and we will find out how much do they contribute towards the character. So each of these vectors are going to contribute cos 180 when we do perform the C2 operation. So each of these bone vectors over in these two ligands over here, they are going to contribute -1 towards the character, and total there are 4 bone vectors. So total character for the C2 operation is going to be -4. Now these C2s passes through or bisects the sigma h planes. There are 3 sigma h planes, and two of these there are 2 C2 axes, such C2 axes which bisect the sigma h planes but does not pass through the ML bones. And these C2 axes, when we perform, we see once again that all the metal the ligands are going to change position when we perform this C2 operation. The total character, it is going to be, that is why, equal to 0. Then we have the inversion operation. Again we will have 0 because all the ligands change position, all the pi bone vectors as well change position. When we do S4, again because we do C4 and then we do sigma H, which is perpendicular to the C4. So all the metal ligands and the vectors on all of these ligands are going to change position, which is also going to be equal to 0. S3 should be equal to 0 because simply when we did C3 itself, the character became equal to 0. Now when we did sigma H, 4 of the ligands do not change position, but the 2 axial ligands change position. So we look how, because the sigma H, if we assume here to lie on a plane perpendicular to the plane of the board, then these bone vectors which lie on the plane of the board, they will not change direction. So 4 of these bone vectors on the equatorial plane are going to contribute +1 towards the character. So from +4 we will have from these bone vectors. But these bone vectors which lie perpendicular to the plane of the board over here, they are going to get reversed when we do sigma H, and that is why these bone vectors are going to contribute contribute -1. So there are 4 such bone vectors on the 4 equatorial ligands, and that is why we will have -4 as character from these bone vectors. So total +4 from the bone vectors which lie on the plane of the board on a perpendicular which lie on the sigma h plane, and -4 from these vectors which lie perpendicular to the sigma h plane. So the character again is going to be equal to 0 when we did sigma d. So then the sigma d contains 2 of these ligands, and we bisect the molecules in this way when we perform the sigma d operation. Again, it will contain one bone vector on each ligand, and that is why these bone vectors which lie on the sigma d plane are going to contribute +1, but the other bone vector, this bone vector will get reversed when we do sigma d, and that is going to contribute -1, and that is why total character +2 and -2 total character is going to be equal to 0 once again. So this is the reducible representation that we obtain by taking the pi bone vectors in an octahedral complex as the basis. Now if we try to find out, or if we reduce this reducible representation, or try to find out the irreducible components of this reducible representation in octahedral point group, what we will find out is that gamma pi bone is equal to T1G plus T2G plus T1U plus T2U. As this is a 12-dimensional reducible representation, we see that it is composed of 4 3-dimensional irreducible representations. So that is 4 into 3, total dimension is equal to 12. That is the dimensionality of the reducible representation. So that is how, when we find out the irreducible components of a reducible representation, the sum of the dimension of all the irreducible representations should be equal to the dimension of the reducible representation. So then let us try to draw the molecular orbital diagram of the for a complex where there is pi bonding is involved. Now, since we know the symmetry of the ligand group orbitals, which can form the pi bonds in an octahedral complex, so we can start with, in order to simplify this diagram, we can start with the molecular orbital diagram of an octahedral complex containing sigma bond, because we have already drawn the molecular orbital diagram for such a complex where there is sigma bond, and then we will draw the molecular orbital diagram involving pi bonding in such a complex. So we have drawn the molecular orbital pictures already, the E1G star, then we had T1U, and then we had T1U star, and then we had EG, and we had EZ star, and then we knew that this T2G orbitals of metal, essentially they were non-bonding, they did not participate in sigma bonding in an octahedral complex. So now again we also figured out in our last lecture that these orbitals, or these molecular orbitals, are essentially filled by electrons from the metal, while these molecular orbitals over here are filled by electrons from the ligand. So let us now try to draw the ligand group orbital for pi bonding. Now before we do that, we have to classify the molecules where there is pi bonding, because we have ligands which can perform as, or which act as pi donor ligands, as well as we have ligands which act as pi acceptor ligands. So pi donor ligands are ligands which have electrons, filled electrons in their orbitals, and examples of pi donor ligands like halides we have, where we have the valence orbitals of these halides essentially contains filled orbitals. These are, so chloride will have this is 3s and 3p atomic orbitals of chloride. So when we have such ligands, pi donor ligands, they are usually uh, constituted by electronegative elements, or the donor atoms are electronegative in nature, and that is why the electron cloud or the orbitals are more closer to the nucleus, we can say, and that is why the energy of these atomic orbitals are much less than the energy of the metal orbitals. And that is why when we draw the molecular orbital picture or pi bonding molecular orbital picture of complexes containing pi donor ligands like chloride, or ligands containing oxygen donor atoms like water, or hydroxo ligand or oxo ligand. In that case, we draw the energy of these ligand group orbitals which form pi bonding at energy lower than the energy of these metal orbitals. So we will draw now the, so this is Ml6 sigma bond only. Now we will draw the LZO for pi bonding. So this is the energy scale. So this is the energy of the metal or d orbital we know. So we'll draw the energy of these ligand group orbitals, which is again 12 dimension, 12 uh, orbitals are going to be here, but we will refrain from drawing 12 lines over here. But we should remember that there are going to be 12 orbitals because the dimensionality of this reducible representation is 12, and the symmetry we know is T1G, T2G plus T1U plus T2U. These are the symmetry of the ligand group orbitals. Now, orbitals which are available of the right symmetry now will combine to form molecular orbitals or pi molecular orbitals. Now we see that there are orbitals, non-bonding orbitals of the metal, that is T2G orbitals of the metal. Again, have this. We have a ligand group orbital with T2G symmetry here, which can form pi bonding, and that is why there is going to be interaction between these metal and d orbital and pi ligand group orbital to form pi molecular orbitals, and this will essentially lead to formation of T2G star and T2G bonding. So we can now redraw the molecular orbital diagram. So Ml6 sigma pi donor complex type of complexes, and let's also draw. This is easy here. T1U A1G bonding. Then we have T2G bonding, and this is T2G anti-bonding. Now let's also draw the energy of this EG star. Then we have T1U star, and we have A1G star. Now we should also notice that there are molecular orbitals available in the Ml6 complexes containing sigma bond, which have symmetry, similar symmetry with the ligand group orbital of for pi bonding. That is T1U is also available, but the interaction of T1U molecular orbital over here with this ligand group orbital for formation of pi bonding is going to be less, because this molecular orbital or this orbital is already involved in bonding, in sigma bonding itself. So that is why the participation of this molecular orbital or atomic orbital of metal of T1U symmetry, that is p orbitals in pi bonding, is going to be minimal in nature, and we our understanding of the bonding is going to be complete only by considering the interaction of the T2G orbitals of T2G symmetry only. So now this is the molecular orbital picture after pi bonding, and this was the situation when we had only sigma bonding. So now we should look at the CFSE or crystal stabilization energy of the complex when only sigma donor ligands were present. This is the CFSE in that case. But once we have pi donor ligands, so complexes formed by pi donor ligands, we see that the energy of the metal d orbital, that is the T2G orbital, these are the metal centered molecular orbitals, we say non-bonding. Now the energy of um, uh, these metal d orbitals have been lifted because of pi bonding. Again, we should remember that this particular molecular orbital over here, T2G bonding molecular orbital, will essentially be occupied by electrons from the ligands, because these are pi donor ligands. So these ligands have filled orbitals, and these electrons in these field orbitals will essentially occupy this molecular orbital, T2G bonding molecular orbital, and T2G star anti-bonding molecular orbital, a pi molecular orbital is going to be occupied by metal d electrons in metal d orbitals essentially, and that is why after pi bonding we see that the energy difference between the T2G and the EG set of d orbitals of the metal essentially decreases, and that is the reason why the ligands like chloride or water or hydroxo, they are weak field, considered to be weak field ligands, because the difference in the metal d orbitals, or the splitting of the energy of the metal d orbitals, decreases in these when these ligands participate in pi bonding. So now we understand why these ligands containing electronegative donor atoms essentially are considered to be weak field ligands. Let us now change this molecular orbital picture and let us redraw this molecular orbital diagram for pi acceptor ligands. Now, examples of pi acceptor ligand, a very good example of pi acceptor ligand is the carbonyl ligand. Now, we know this carbonyl ligand, there are pi star. If you draw the molecular orbital diagram of carbon monoxide, what you will observe is that there are pi star molecular orbitals of the carbon monoxide molecule are empty essentially, and the HOMO in this is a sigma 2p molecular orbital is the HOMO, which contains 2 electrons, and then it has pi star molecular orbital which is empty. And now these, when the carbon monoxide binds to metal center, the sigma bonding molecular orbital essentially is electrons in this sigma bonding molecular orbital are donated to the empty metal as center, and this forms this sigma bond in metal carbonyl complexes. But the pi star or empty pi star molecular orbitals of carbon monoxide can participate in pi bonding, and these pi star molecular orbitals are going to form now the ligand group orbitals for formation of pi bond. And the energy of these pi star molecular orbitals are higher than the energy of the metal d orbitals. So the LZO will have to write at the energy of the LZO will have to write at higher energy now. And now let us, and also remember that these LZOs are essentially empty. There are no electrons in these LZOs. And now let us redraw the molecular orbital diagram. And when we do so, for pi bonding, we see this is T2G bonding and T2G star antibonding. Now these bonding T2G molecular orbital or pi bonding molecular orbital, after formation of pi bond with this pi acceptor kind of ligands, we see this is going to be filled by electrons from the metal, and T2G star and EZ star will also be filled by electrons from metal. T2G star, so of course, is going to remain empty because there are no electrons in these pi LZOs. They use empty orbitals of the ligand for formation of pi bond. And now if we compare the CFSE after formation of pi bond with pi acceptor kind of ligands, we see that there is substantial increase of CFC as compared to only sigma donor ligands. And when pi acceptor ligands, carbonyl ligands from pi bond, the CFC of the complex essentially increases. So that is the reason why pi acceptor ligands like carbon monoxide are considered as strong field ligands. So similar pi acceptor ligands, we can have examples like phosphine ligand, which uses this molecular orbital, empty molecular orbital, that is the sigma star molecular orbital. Um, then again we also have nitrosyl ligand, dinitrosyl ligand. All of these ligands are pi acceptor ligands, and these are considered to be a strong field ligand because upon formation of pi bond there is substantial increase in CFSE, and that happens because the bonding molecular orbital is essentially filled by metal d electrons. So this essentially uh, brings us to the end of this lecture. Um, and what we have learned during this lecture is how we can draw or how we can find out the symmetry of uh, bimolecular orbitals. And for this, this exercise we can do for molecules of any point group or of any symmetry. We can simply draw the pi bond factors and find out the reducible representation uh, by using these pi bond factors as the basis. And when we find out the irreducible components of this reducible representation, we will find out the symmetry of these ligand group orbitals for formation of pi bond. Then we should look for available orbitals in the complex after formation of sigma bond, which can which essentially can now combine with ligand group orbitals of same symmetry, and after this will allow us to construct a molecular orbital diagram for complexes where there is even pi bonding available. So let me conclude this lecture with this. We will discuss more about the application of group theory in chemistry. That is, we will discuss how one can use group theory uh, to understand the mechanism of certain reactions in the next few lectures. So let me thank you for being with me during this lecture, and I hope to see you in the next lecture again. Thank you very much.